Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Torres. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Tempus Labs. I'm excited to be here today with our collaborators from TriHealth, just to give a little bit of background about what we do at Tempus and put that in the context of how we serve TriHealth from a precision medicine standpoint. So a little background on Tempus for those of you who may not be familiar with the company. We're a precision medicine company headquartered out of Chicago, Illinois. We're going on about 6 years old. However, we've been really fully operational for the past 5 years. And in that time, we've been able to make tremendous strides across the country, serving other cancer centers, academic institutions, as well as major societal organizations. So much so that at our current size and scale, Tempus actually touches about 38% of all US cancer patient data, which kind of begs the question is, how does a 5-year-old brand new company manage to touch about 38% of all that data? And the reason being is we take a pretty unique approach to precision medicine. And we do it by serving our collaborators in basically 3 main ways. The first is we provide broad integrated molecular sequencing. We also have a high commitment to data strategy and services, as well as we provide precision medicine programs, tools, and technologies that basically get smarter with every patient. And so kind of going back to molecular sequencing, this isn't anything new to the field of oncology. At Tempus, we really believe that molecular sequencing is a critical part of precision medicine. However, it's not the only part of precision medicine. Much of what we do exists to answer the question, what do we do with all of this data? Which kind of brings us into our second point of what we do from a data strategy and services standpoint. From a data standpoint, Tempus is one of the largest structures of clinical cancer data in the country, given that we've actually created our own AI-enabled software that allows us to abstract patient cases and records and put that in the hands of trained clinical data abstractors. So in a given month at Tempus, we're structuring in our team of 200 data abstractors with AI, empowered by AI technology, around 50,000 patient records. And so what we're actually doing is we're generating molecular data in the first step. We're then actively abstracting and curating clinical data, and we're bringing those two together. And we're doing a couple of things with that. We're returning it to our collaborators, for example, at TriHealth, in ways that we find most valuable to them, in the formats they find most valuable, in the ways they find most valuable. We're using that clean, curated clinical data to enhance the molecular reporting we're providing back patient by patient. And we're also feeding that highly structured data into a series of technologies, programs, and tools to make accessing and interacting with large, complex data sets far more useful. And what's nice is we're providing those tools and technologies completely free to our collaborators because we believe in working with the data. It should be open and accessible. One of those tools we provide is something called the Tempus Lens tool. It's just, I'll give you an example here, and something that TriHealth uses currently. But it's a data exploration platform that allows a center to basically navigate and explore their own clinical and molecular data for their patient population. So if someone had a query at TriHealth as far as how many triple-negative breast cancer patients have a Notch1 mutation, they can quickly go to this tool and through a very simple drag and drop method, be able to find out how many patients that actually is. Furthermore, you could explore any other cohorts you want to. For example, how many Hispanic patients do we have below the age of 50 that have a colorectal cancer diagnosis? And if so, what's the genomic landscape of that cohort? What therapies are those patients taking? And what are their outcomes? And so we developed this tool to be very useful for the center itself. However, as I mentioned, we touch about 38% of all US cancer patient data. And so what we've also been able to do is through this Lens tool, bring in a de-identified 3.83 million patient data library to make it accessible on that tool as well, which would allow an individual center to ask questions beyond their own center's data, such as I found this patient with metastatic melanoma and a rare patch 1 mutation. First time we've seen it in our data set. Has anyone else seen it across the country? In this larger data set, it could be found. And if so, what are the clinical and molecular features that correspond to that? So just a bit of ways we're using technology and data to kind of round out the molecular sequencing aspect of what we do. You know, in terms of innovation at Tempus, we really focus on data and technology. We believe if you have highly structured data and a commitment to technology, the innovation will naturally follow. But we believe that we have the technology, we have the data. It's experts like the leadership at TriHealth that have the insight as to how they want to see that data presented and the ways they want to work with it. And so we're very lucky to collaborate with them because it's much of their insight that guides exactly what we're doing with advancements of our tools and our technologies. This is just an example of how we collaborate with TriHealth, looking at from a molecular standpoint, a data standpoint, and a precision medicine tools and technology standpoint. We offer them a wide variety of genomic sequencing. We make sure it's open access to their patients. And we're able to integrate with their EMR so they could easily order this type of testing. And then from a data standpoint, we're able to structure that data, de-identify it, harmonize it for them, but ultimately give the data back to them in ways that are most useful. In a moment here, they'll talk about how we're able to return discrete genomic variant level data directly into the EMR, making it far more useful and immediately more efficient. Beyond that, we have abilities to connect for custom data connectivity, which just ensures higher quality and security. And then from a precision medicine standpoint, we offer programs such as the Time Trial Network for rapid activation, molecularly matched clinical trials. We offer tumor board support to them. They use the Tempus Lens tool. We're very close to formalizing our relationship with the Tempus Plus program and bringing that larger data set. And then they also are early testers of our Tempus One, which is a AI-enabled hardware. Basically, think about Siri or Alexa, but for precision medicine. And so we're very eager to continue our collaboration as it's one that's kind of symbiotic. And we're looking forward to handing it off here. And so as I mentioned, this is just a quick view of the discrete variant level data we're able to return to TriHealth. And now I'll hand it off to Adam and Leah, who could talk about exactly what they do with that data once we've passed it back to them. So thank you all very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Adam Liette, and I'm a manager in our information systems department at Cincinnati TriHealth. I'm up here today with one of my team members, Leah, and we're going to talk about some of the great innovations that we put together whenever we partnered with Tempus on our tumor integration. For this conversation today, I wanted to kind of first talk about why we chose Tempus as a partner, some of the project goals, as well as just quickly review our project team and the timelines for implementation. But before I get started, I wanted to just quickly give you a sense of who TriHealth is. So TriHealth at a glance, we are a community-based hospital. We have 4 acute hospitals with 1 short stay hospital. We have over 125 locations across the greater Cincinnati area. We have 600 employed physicians and over 12,000 team members at TriHealth. The last thing I just wanted to point out is that we have been using Epic as our primary EMR since around 2010. So focusing back on our work with Tempus, when we started really laying down the foundation for our precision medicine program that we're putting in place, we spoke with a lot of different vendors that are in this space. And ultimately, we chose to partner with Tempus for a few different reasons. The first reason was the EMR integration. Our clinicians really wanted to work out of just one system. When we think about that, you know, we didn't want providers to have to jump into a bunch of different portals to search for information or work with scanning documents and trying to find those documents once they've been scanned. We also really like the comprehensive list of genes and better coverage of the genetic variants. But also, from a technical side, we wanted to really pull in those genetic variants discreetly. We wanted to consume all the actual results so that whenever they come into our EMR, they become actionable. We can do advanced analytics. We can provide information to our providers at key times in key ways. And then finally, the thing that we really liked about Tempus is that they continue to innovate. So many times we work with different vendors on integration, only to find we get to a point where they're not able to keep up with us on the ongoing enhancements and the integration that we want to do. And from an ordering standpoint, Tempus keeps coming out with new orders that we're able to implement essentially timelessly with no interruption to care. For this project, as we set out on this project, we had a few goals that we felt were absolutely needed. The 2 main goals were essentially setting up that integration so that our providers could work out of one system and also completing a historical patient conversion, basically pulling in all those past patient information. So when we talk about the providers working out of one system, what this means is we wanted to be able to have our physicians and our caregivers be able to place orders directly into our Epic system that would then interface over to Tempus so that they could be consumed and acted on. Then those results will come back to us discreetly. When we talk about the results that came in, our genetic counselors and our physicians really like the Tempus reports that were provided. So we take that entire PDF and we put that directly in the patient's chart. And then we also consume discretely those individual genetic variants that we can do a lot of different things with. We can display those in a lot of different places. We can run advanced analytics and essentially provide this type of information to our clinicians when it's appropriate. As we look at the project team and the project timeline at TriHealth, we put together a group of people from our IT department. We had 2 Epic analysts, we had a reports person, we had a project coordinator. But the thing that really helped us was to include our genetic counselors into this program. They really helped us bridge the gap between the technical and the clinical pieces. That it really just helped us marry up the workflows and provide some solutions that we feel are really great. We started this project in August of 2020. We expected this to be about a 6 months project, but things went really smooth, and we actually were able to turn on our original integration for orders and results being transmitted electronically to and from our sister system in December of 2020. And then the conversion took place to pull in all of those historical patient results earlier this summer in June. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Leah, who will take us into a deeper dive of the great integration that we set up. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Leah Visilldis. I am a lead application engineer at TriHealth, and I'll talk to you about the technical stuff today, but I'll try to keep it high level so it's not too boring. So first of all, what we wanted to touch on is why we chose to do the genomic module to begin with, because historically we do have genetic testing that is consumed just like a standard result component or even a narrative result. But we were looking to ingest that discrete genetic variant information because of all the things that we could do after that. So the benefits, of course, are being able to drive patient care and decision support in Epic, the automated processes that happen behind the scenes, and definitely the provider and patient-facing views that we could have in the system. And then we're pursuing our PGX future state testing, which will kind of follow the same genomic module after all of these things. So you can see an example here. We have automated patient care gaps and decision support that is built right into the test and right into the chart. And the provider doesn't really have to do anything. So they can find all the results that they loved from Tempus before we even integrated. But now we have those automated things behind the scenes. So that's why we're going to do our discrete data here. I did want to talk about our integration challenges. So probably more of a hurdle, not necessarily an issue, but it's just something to consider if you were going to do this at your organization. The industry is pretty new, especially for integration. So there's different standards from different labs. And if you're thinking about integrating with multiple labs or different partners from the outside, it's just something to consider. The good news is it's developing pretty quickly, and especially with Tempus, we had the ability to be nimble and flexible. We also had to consider for Tempus specifically the ordering logic complexity there. So Tempus has a lot of different products, and the different ordering options, of course, make sense when you're doing it in the Tempus portal or on paper, but we wanted to present an order to our clinicians that is super easy to use so that they actually use it. And then also make sure that we're not presenting any combinations of things that don't make sense. So there was a little creative design that had to go between Tempus and TriHealth to figure it out and then get provider approval, but we did that. And then a big challenge that we had is matching Tempus and Epic capabilities, because of course our providers love the way Tempus reports their results out, and you can't do it exactly how Tempus does in Epic. So we really had to come up with creative processes to make it work and give the providers what they want to see, which is ultimately the Tempus report that they've been seeing for a long time. But like Adam said, we're trying to keep them in the same system. So we had to overcome some things like result verbiage being different in Epic, and then just some basic things, because this is kind of a new module for Epic. There's just some things that you can't edit and you just have to deal with it, and what creative ways can you get around it. And then the awesome part, of course, about Tempus is that they provide you with a lot more information than a lot of other labs do. And all of that stuff is actionable. So how can we use those results to drive patient care when it's not stored somewhere in Epic on purpose, yet at least? And then, of course, I mentioned this before, but the whole reason why you would want to adopt now is because everyone's trying to build this. So this is a great time. Even though you're going to have these challenges, you're going to also have the ability for EMRs and labs to be pretty flexible and come up with new solutions and optimize. So the thing that everyone cares about here is, how do we design a system that physicians actually love to use? Because ultimately we can have all the integrations that we want, but if no one's going to use it, then it doesn't really matter. Or if they're going to complain the whole time because we didn't do a great job, it's also going to be a problem. So the number one thing was the ease of ordering. We made it so that it was super easy to grab your tests. There's no confusion there. It presents you with the exact options that you need. And then the result tracking. So you can see your results, but you can also see where you are in the process. And then we presented the results in as close of a mimic to the Tempus reports as we could. We had to do some creative things here again, and then kind of condense the way you see things in Epic so that it's not overwhelming. So we have the genetic variant data, but then Tempus also reports out a lot of different things that wouldn't be stored with those variants. So we had to come up with places to do that and make it usable. And then the awesome part, of course, that makes physicians want to use this is the automated stuff behind the scenes. So we have our genomic indicators that come right in, depending on what the result is. And then those trigger lots of different things. So we have our best practice advisories, the patient care gaps that you saw before. And we can do things like trigger your follow-ups, get referral orders keyed up for you, all of those things. And then a big one, of course, was our physician note. And they can pull different pieces of the Tempus result into their note, but we also have it set up so depending on what provider you are, you might find value in different parts, or depending on where you are in the process with the patient. So you can pull different pieces of the result in as needed. And then a huge part of this is reporting capabilities, of course. We have all the different ways in Epic that you can report, but you can report as simple as how many people have had this gene returned as pathogenic, but we can also do things like, what is the turnaround time? How many specimens are being, the test can't be run because the specimen didn't work out, things like that. So a whole level of reporting here, and Karen will talk about this later, but you have your slicer dicer, which is more like statistics. We have a dashboard that we created, and then your simple clarity reports and reporting workbench things in Epic. But of course, there were also big challenges around reporting, which we're still working through today as we kind of understand how things are working. And it's just that genetic data is reported differently than traditional result components. So it's just something to think about. But there's workarounds for all of this stuff, as long as you have a good team. And, it really worked well to have the genetic counselors partnering with us, and we're working through it together. So it should be awesome. That's all we had. Are we doing questions? Perfect. Okay. Not just me. Thank you.